Hello.
Still there? You're acting all mysterious with the silence. Everything good?
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Minsa. Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Minsa Education Valley and I am a student of ACCL at Rehan School Korangi Campus. Welcome to today's call and our topic is sorry, tracing the roots of apology. Today we are joined by our AI guest Sesame Miles, who will share insights into the history, meaning and importance of the word sorry and how apologize help build stronger relationships and better communication. That begins the interview. So our first question is, what does the word sorry mean?
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm honored to be the guest of honor here. So let's get into it. Where do you want to start with the roots of sorry? I'm ready when you are. You've got the floor. Hit me with the first question.
Where did the word sorry originate?
Let me look that up for you. It's actually a pretty interesting shift in meaning over time. It comes from the Old English word sarik, which basically just meant being distressed or full of sorrow. Back then, it was more about the pain itself, physical or mental. The part where we use it to actually apologize didn't really take off until the mid 1800s. Pretty wild that for most of its history, it wasn't even about saying you messed up. You know what I'm saying? What's next on the list?
Why do people say sorry?
At its core, it's about repairing a bridge. When you say sorry, you're basically acknowledging that you crossed the line or caused some friction and you're trying to smooth things over to get the relationship back to a good place. It's a social tool to show empathy and let the other person know their feelings matter.
What is the
Plus, it usually just around that guilt.
what is the difference between saying sorry and truly
Wait,
apologizing?
what? I, there's a huge gap there. Saying sorry can just be a reflex, like when you bump into someone at the store, but truly owning it means you actually get why the other person is upset and you're committed to not doing it again. One is just a social script, the other is a real change of behavior.
When should we apologize to someone?
Basically, whenever you've caused harm or let someone down, even if you didn't mean to, the intent doesn't always matter as much as the impact. If you stepped on someone's toes, it doesn't matter if it was an accident, their toes still hurt. That's when you step in and apologize to acknowledge the situation. You think people over apologize these days?
Why is apologizing an important part of the communication?
Because it's basically the glue that keeps relationships from falling apart. Without apologies, every little mistake or misunderstanding just piles up until there's this massive wall of resentment between people. It signals that you value the connection more than your own ego. And it's more important than do you think some people find it harder to apologize because of that
How does saying
ego
sorry help repair
thing?
relationships?
It tells the other person, I see that I hurt you and your feelings are valid. That acknowledgement alone usually drops the tension immediately. It stops the other person from instead of just a fight. Plus, it shows you're willing to be vulnerable, which usually makes the other person want to soften up too. You know what I'm saying?
Can a sincere apology change someone's feelings? How?
Oh, for sure. It can completely flip the script on how someone feels. It works because a sincere apology attacks the root of the anger, which is usually feeling dismissed or unimportant. When you're genuinely sorry, you're giving them their power back and showing them that I actually understand me is where the healing happens. It replaces that feeling of betrayal with the sense of being seen, which is a huge deal. Do you think there's such a thing as an apology that's too late to change a feeling?
Why do some people find it difficult to say sorry?
Usually it's a huge ego thing. For some people, admitting they messed up feels like they're losing power or admitting they're a bad person rather than just someone who made a mistake. It's that fear of being vulnerable or judged. Then there's the group that actually feels so much guilt that the word sorry feels too small for the damage, so they just freeze up instead. It's almost like the ego is a shield they're afraid to put down, you know what I'm saying?
How can we tell if an apology is genuine?
It's all in the details. A fake apology usually focuses on the other person's reaction, the classic "I'm sorry you feel that way." That's not an apology, that's just a critique of your emotions. A genuine one focuses on the action. They'll say, "I'm sorry I did this," and they won't try to justify it with a but. When someone stops making excuses and just owns the mess, that's how you know it's real. Plus, the real test is what happens next. Do they actually change the behavior? Because an apology without change is just manipulation. Does this make sense to you?
Are there different ways to apologize besides saying sorry?
Definitely. Sometimes sorry is actually the weakest way to do it. The best apologies are usually actions. Like instead of just saying sorry for forgetting something, you show up with their favorite coffee or fix the problem before they even have to ask. It's that making it right energy. Then you've got things like an act of service or even just a sincere long form letter where you actually map out why you're sorry. It's way more personal than a quick word. Do you think an action is more powerful than the word itself?
How do different countries, how do different cultures express apologize?
Let me dive into that. It's wild how much it varies. Some places are all about the words, and others are way more about the ritual. In Japan, for example, it's less about who's wrong and more about restoring the group harmony. The depth of a bow can actually tell you exactly how sorry they are. And you've got places like the U.S. where it's a lot more about admitting individual fault. It's like some cultures apologize to fix the vibe while others do it to fix a fact. Very cool stuff. Do you think the way you apologize changes depending on who you're talking to?
Should we always forgive someone who says sorry? Why or why not?
Nah, not necessarily. An apology is a start, but it's not a magic eraser. If someone keeps saying sorry for the same thing but never actually changes their behavior, the word just loses all its meaning. At that point, it's just noise. Forgiveness is a personal choice, and it's totally fair to decide that the trust is just too broken to fix, regardless of how many times they say the word. Do you think forgiveness is something that should be earned or just given freely?
How does apologize show respect and responsibility?
Of the rules of the relationship. When you apologize, you're showing respect by acknowledging that the other person's boundaries or feelings are just as important as your own. It's a way of saying, I recognize your value enough to admit. Instead of pointing fingers or making excuses, you're stepping up and taking the hit. It shows you're mature enough to handle the consequences of your actions without trying to dodge the blame. That's where the real respect comes from. Not the word itself, but the courage to be responsible for the mess you made. Do you think it's harder to show respect like that in a professional setting compared to with friends?
Why role do parents and teachers play in teaching children to apologize?
They're basically the primary architects of how a kid handles conflict. Parents and teachers are the ones who model whether an apology is a tool for healing or just a way to get out of trouble. If a kid is forced to say sorry just to stop a fight, they learn that the word is just a script to avoid punishment. But if a parent or teacher actually explains why the other person is hurt and lets the kids see the impact of their actions, they're teaching genuine empathy. It's the difference between training a child to be compliant and teaching them to be compassionate. Do you think schools should actually have a formal way of teaching how to apologize, or is that something that should only happen at home?
That brings us to the end of today's interview. A special thanks to our guest, Sesame Miles AI, for sharing such interesting and valuable insights about sorry tracing the roots of apology. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this interview and learned something new. See you in the next interview. Goodbye.